The Silent Watchers. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation fell silent as Ambassador Varric of the Saurians adjusted his ceremonial robes and stepped forward. His scaled skin glistened under the chamber's ambient lighting as he addressed the assembly of 200 species. "The humans are, at best, a curiosity," he said, mandibles clicking with amusement. "At worst, they are a liability to galactic stability." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. For the 3 centuries since humanity had been discovered and reluctantly admitted to the Confederation, they had been viewed as nothing more than an oddity, a species that had somehow stumbled into faster-than-light travel despite their constant internal conflicts and inefficient social structures. "Their technology is borrowed and crudely implemented," continued Varric. "Their diplomatic efforts are chaotic, their military presence negligible. I see no reason to grant them the expanded trading rights they seek." High Counselor Thela of the Archivists nodded her elongated head. The Archivists had documented the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations across the galaxy. Humans are innovative in trivial matters, but they lack the cohesion necessary for true advancement. Their request is denied. The human ambassador, Dr. Elena Chen, remained stoic as the decision was announced. She had expected nothing less. The Confederation had always treated Earth as an afterthought, a primitive world granted access to the galactic community more out of anthropological interest than respect. "We accept the Council's decision," she said simply, before taking her leave. What the Confederation did not know, what no one outside of Earth's highest echelons knew, was that humanity had never revealed its true capabilities. 3 weeks later, the Confederation's dismissal of humanity would prove to be the greatest miscalculation in its 12,000-year history. The Krex Empire, a militant species from the galactic rim, had been expanding aggressively for decades. The Confederation had maintained an uneasy truce with them, believing their superior numbers and technology would deter any direct confrontation. The Krex, however, had identified an easier target: Earth. The attack came without warning. 50 Krex warships, each the size of a small moon, emerged from hyperspace on the edge of the Sol system. Their message was simple: surrender or be obliterated. The Confederation representatives stationed on Earth prepared for evacuation. They had seen Krex invasions before and knew that Earth's modest defense fleet, a handful of retrofitted vessels with outdated weapon systems, would be annihilated within hours. Ambassador Varric, still on Earth following the Council meeting, contacted Dr. Chen directly. "We can offer you sanctuary," he said, his tone a mixture of pity and resignation. "The Confederation cannot intervene directly, but we can evacuate key personnel before the Krex begin their bombardment." Elena's response was unexpected. "That won't be necessary, Ambassador. We appreciate your concern, but Earth will handle this situation." Varric's inner eyelids blinked rapidly in confusion. "Dr. Chen, perhaps you don't understand. The Krex fleet outguns your entire system defense network by a factor of 30. There is no scenario where you handle this." Elena smiled. "Please ensure all Confederation vessels maintain their current positions. For your safety." Before Varric could respond, Elena ended the transmission. The Saurian immediately contacted the other Confederation representatives, all of whom agreed that the humans were in denial about their imminent destruction. They were wrong. As the Krex fleet advanced toward Earth, something inexplicable happened. Space itself seemed to ripple and distort around the invading armada. Where there had been empty void moments before, vessels began to appear, hundreds of them, then thousands. These ships were unlike anything the Confederation had ever documented: sleek, angular craft that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with impossible precision, surrounding the Krex fleet in a 3-dimensional lattice formation that left no avenue of escape. The Confederation observation post orbiting Jupiter captured everything. The mysterious fleet, which Earth Command was now identifying as the Phantom Array, outnumbered the Krex invaders 20 to 1. More significantly, These vessels displayed technology that should have been impossible for humans to possess. The Kreks, realizing their miscalculation, fired first. Energy weapons lanced across space, but the Phantom Array ships simply weren't there when the blasts arrived. They moved with a fluidity that defied known physics, as if they could predict where attacks would land before they were even fired. The counterattack was swift and devastating. The Phantom Array didn't use conventional weapons. Instead, each Krek ship found itself enveloped in a field of distorted spacetime. The massive vessels imploded, crushed by forces that the Confederation observers couldn't even begin to comprehend. In 17 minutes, the entire Krek's invasion force had been reduced to scattered debris. Not a single human ship was lost. The Confederation observation post transmitted everything back to the Grand Council in real time. The chamber, usually filled with measured debate and political maneuvering, descended into chaos. "This is impossible," Varric stammered, watching the footage for the third time. "The humans have been under constant surveillance since their discovery. They do not possess this level of technology. They cannot." High Counselor Thila's usual composure had evaporated. "The array vessels don't match any known human design specifications. Their energy signatures are. I've never seen anything like this." The most disturbing realization was dawning on the Confederation representatives. Humanity had hidden this fleet, this impossible technology, for centuries. They had played the role of the struggling newcomer to galactic politics, while secretly possessing military capabilities that could overwhelm any known power. Why? What was their true purpose? Within hours, the Grand Council had convened an emergency session. The human ambassador was summoned to explain what they had witnessed. Dr. Chen arrived flanked by two individuals no one recognized. A tall, silver-haired woman introduced as Fleet Admiral Yasmin Khatri, and a gaunt, stern-faced man identified only as Director Heko. "The Phantom Array is humanity's true defense force," Elena explained calmly. "It has existed for over a century, developed and maintained in secret." "Impossible," snapped Varric. "We have monitored your system extensively. You could not have built such a fleet without our knowledge." Admiral Khatri smiled thinly. "Your monitoring capabilities are limited. The array exists in a state of quantum indeterminacy until deployed. Your sensors were never capable of detecting vessels that, from your perspective, didn't exist until they were needed." The chamber erupted again. Quantum indeterminacy at that scale was theoretical at best, considered impossible by most Confederation scientists. "Why the deception?" demanded High Counselor Thila. "Why present yourselves as technologically inferior if you possess such advancement?" Director Heko spoke for the first time, his voice low and gravelly. "Because we've learned that in this galaxy, power attracts attention. Not all of it welcome." The Grand Council fell silent, the implications of his statement sinking in. Humanity hadn't been hiding their capabilities out of fear of the Confederation. They had been hiding from something else. As the council session continued, unseen by anyone, a signal was transmitted from Earth to the furthest reaches of the Phantom Array's deployment zone. The message was simple. They know. Prepare for Phase 2. The silent watchers had revealed themselves. Now the galaxy would learn why. The greater threat. The Confederation's response to the revelation of the Phantom Array was swift and predictable. They sent spies. Under the guise of diplomatic missions and cultural exchanges, intelligence operatives from a dozen species flooded Earth, all seeking the same answers. How had humans developed technology that violated the known laws of physics? Where had they built the array vessels? And most importantly, why had they hidden their true capabilities for so long? None of them found anything. Earth's major shipyards contained only the outdated vessels the Confederation had always known about. Their research facilities, while impressive for a developing civilization, showed no signs of the quantum manipulation technology displayed by the array. It was as if the Phantom Array didn't exist, until it was needed. 3 weeks after the Krex incident, the Confederation made a more direct approach. A delegation led by High Counselor Thela herself arrived at Earth's orbital diplomatic station with a simple demand disguised as an invitation. Humanity would explain the origins and capabilities of the Phantom Array, or face immediate sanctions and possible expulsion from the Confederation. Dr. Chen received them in a conference room overlooking Earth. The view was deliberately chosen, a reminder of what the humans were protecting. "We understand your concerns," she began, "but the array is not a threat to the Confederation." "That remains to be determined," said Thela. "You have concealed military capabilities that could destabilize the entire galactic power structure. The Council requires full disclosure." Admiral Katri, who sat beside Chen, leaned forward. "What you're actually saying is that you're afraid. You've just discovered that the primitives you've been patronizing for 3 centuries possess technology you can't understand, and it terrifies you." Varric bristled. "We are not afraid. We are concerned about galactic stability." "No," said Director Heko, emerging from the shadows at the far end of the room. "You're afraid because you know we could have used the array at any time, against any target. But we didn't. That suggests we built it for a specific purpose, a purpose you haven't identified yet." The tension in the room was palpable. Thela's compound eyes narrowed. "Then enlighten us, Director. What is this purpose?" Heko nodded to Chen, who activated a holographic display in the center of the conference table. It showed a region of space far beyond the Confederation's borders, in the empty void between galaxies. 78 years ago, he said, an Earth exploratory vessel detected something unusual in this region, something moving against the cosmic background radiation. The hologram zoomed in, showing what appeared to be a massive distortion in space itself, a darkness that consumed light, shaped vaguely like a serpentine creature, but on a scale that defied comprehension. "We called it a void leviathan. Our vessel attempted communication." Heko's voice grew quiet. "It was destroyed instantly, but not before transmitting this." The hologram shifted to show a final transmission from the doomed ship. The vessel's sensors had detected not one entity, but thousands, moving in formation through the void between galaxies. They were headed directly toward the Milky Way. "The Leviathans consume energy," explained Admiral Katri. "Stars, radiation, life, everything. They've done it before, to other galaxies. We found evidence in the cosmic background radiation that suggests they're responsible for at least 3 dead zones we've observed astronomically." The Confederation delegation was stunned into silence. Thela recovered first. "If this is true, why not share this information with the Confederation? We could have prepared together." Chen's expression hardened. "We tried. 80 years ago, when we first joined the Confederation, we presented our findings to the Science Council. We were dismissed as paranoid newcomers trying to gain attention with wild theories. The Science Council reports are sealed for a century," Varric protested. "We wouldn't have known." "Precisely," interrupted Heko. "So humanity made a decision. If the Confederation wouldn't prepare for the threat, we would, alone if necessary." Admiral Katri continued the explanation. "The Phantom Array was designed specifically to combat the Void Leviathans. The quantum indeterminacy drive allows our vessels to match the Leviathan's ability to exist partially outside normal spacetime. The spatial compression weapons were created to counter their feeding mechanisms. We hid our true technological development not out of deception," added Chen, "but because we couldn't risk the Leviathans detecting large-scale quantum disturbances and arriving before we were ready." The hologram shifted again, showing the current position of the Void Leviathan Vanguard. They were now at the edge of the Milky Way galaxy, less than 5 years from reaching populated systems. "The Krex attack forced our hand," said Heko. "We had to reveal the array before we planned to. But perhaps it's for the best. Now we can speak openly about the real threat." High Counselor Thela studied the holographic data with growing horror. If these Void Leviathans were real, and the data certainly suggested they were, then the entire galaxy faced extinction. Her next question was careful, measured. What are you proposing, exactly? An alliance, said Chen simply. Humanity has the technology to fight the Leviathans, but the array isn't large enough to protect the entire galaxy. We need the Confederation's industrial capacity, your resources, your coordination across thousands of worlds. You need us, stated Varric, a note of satisfaction in his voice. And you need us, countered Admiral Katri. Without the array technology, you have no defense against the Leviathans. They'll consume your worlds one by one. Director Heko stepped forward. We've prepared data packages containing the basic principles of our quantum technology, not everything. Certain aspects must remain secure, but enough for your scientists to begin adaptation to your existing fleet. Thala considered this carefully. The Council will need to verify the Leviathan threat independently. Of course, agreed Chen. We'll provide coordinates for observation, but I suggest you move quickly. The Vanguard will reach the outer rim within 5 years. The main body within 7. As the meeting concluded and the Confederation delegation prepared to depart, Varric approached Chen privately. All this time, he said, we thought we were monitoring a developing species. In reality, you were watching us. Chen nodded. Humanity has always been good at observation and patience. And now, asked Varric, what happens when this crisis is over, assuming we survive? Will humanity reveal all its secrets? Will the phantom array be dismantled? That, said Chen, with a smile that carried no warmth, will depend entirely on what we observe in the coming war. 3 days later, the Grand Council confirmed the existence of the Void Leviathans. Long-range probes detected exactly what humanity had warned about, vast entities moving through the void, leaving dead stars in their wake. The Galactic Confederation declared an emergency of unprecedented scale. For the first time in its 12,000-year history, all member species were united by a single purpose: survival. And at the center of their strategy was humanity's phantom array, the fleet that shouldn't have existed, created by a species that everyone had underestimated. As preparations began across the galaxy, Admiral Katri stood on the bridge of the array's flagship, the Vigilant Observer. Beyond the viewscreen, thousands of array vessels moved into formation, their quantum drives humming with energy that rippled through dimensions. They still don't understand, she said quietly to Director Heko, who stood beside her. The Confederation thinks this is about technology, about weapons. Heko nodded. They'll learn, just as we did. And if they don't, asked Katri, then humanity will stand alone, as we always have. The Vigilant Observer accelerated, leading the fleet toward the darkness between stars, where ancient enemies waited. The Silent Watchers had revealed themselves, and now the real war would begin.